Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. So I've actually been trying to make a video for several hours now, and I'm actually just going to stand in front of this and let's see if I can do this war topic like I should. Alright, this is more like it. So all of you, hear thee, here comes the greatest war briefing that I can possibly give. When it comes to war, we have companies trying to uniform strategy. Now, uniform strategy is something which I don't agree with. Uniform strategy requires you to take your entire company and play every person in the exact same meta. The problem with this is uniform strategy has the ability to rock, paper, scissors you out of the game, because you will only play one, and they don't have to keep guessing what you're gonna throw. You always throw either rock, paper, or scissors, and once you keep knowing that it's paper, you simply counteract them with scissors, or if they keep throwing rock, you just keep throwing paper at them and they keep losing the game. That's as simple as it gets when you uniform your strategy. It's one of the reasons why they tell you in rock, paper, scissors, throwing the same sign over and over and over again will result in a loss over time, and that's the reality behind these types of things. So for those companies that decide to host extensive war camps, and I'm actually talking about some companies that hit close to home, this is actually a strategy you only deploy when you are inefficient in leadership. That means you have people incapable of thinking strategically, you have people who can't play tactics, and you have people who are non-flexible on the battlefield. In other words, they can't play unless things go their way. Basically, they're non-efficient players for you to have, but for this purpose, it's the only thing that they have at their disposal. You can't do anything about these players. They're stuck in their role. There's nothing that's going to change who they are and what they are. So yeah, that's the big negatives to everything that I'm about to break down for you guys for today. Now, I know I'm running around, but I'm hoping that I don't end up messing up like I have like 20 times I think so far. So yeah, let's see if I can keep myself from breaking topic. So when it comes to playing strategies, you need to have multi-aligned strategies if you're going to try anything uniform. And when you're playing uniform, you cannot keep yourself uniform. Say for example, you're playing bruisers. Bruisers are a good single form assault. In multi-form, they fall apart quite easily. It's one of their major weaknesses as bruisers. So you have to think about it before you deploy them into a war strategy where they're going to end up getting dismantled. Sorry about that, I again paused. I was trying so hard not to do that. So anyway, uniform strategies result in unilateral deconstruction of your fighting strategies. These can feel really bad in the light of battle, and I'm going to explain why to you with a few simple references to where they fall apart. You have a full army at your disposal. You are facing off against 100 enemy players, right? Sorry, not 100. It's 50 versus 50. So you're versing 50 enemy players. You decide you're gonna go in full bruiser. They decide they're gonna attack you with the defensive line. Defensive line holds a trump card on those who play bruiser. The reason for it is quite simple. Bruisers require a certain amount of distance. They require a certain amount of dodge as one of their primary characteristics. This opens you up as the player who's going to try and rock, paper, scissors to try and win, and you're going to end up with a massive disadvantage when they play directly out against you to counter any one of your forward play strategies. That's as simple as it gets. People do this here so frequently that to say it is frequent is an understatement. They play these day and night. They play them whenever they have the opportunity. And that's how people just rip apart wars, like they walking through a park on a Sunday night, right? That is why wars are so haphazard. That's why wars fall apart so quickly, because players are that efficient at the game that they can just walk in and out and do whatever they want and get away with it, because they know where they stand, they know how they stand, and they use it to their advantage when they have to. Okay. Okay. So, unilateral strategies result in that rock, paper, scissors formation, like I was talking about, and it results in people losing wars on a much more frequent base than they would normally. This can be very frustrating to a lot of players. It's especially devastating to people who want to win too badly. And this is something that I have to outline as a massive problem. If your willingness to win is too heavy, you're just going to end up running into a war. Every time you try to push that strategy for the quick win, you're just going to get pinned down with heavy fire. You're going to get pinned down by a bunch of people playing weird strategies and forming themselves up in weird places. It's going to push you on the back foot. It's going to overwhelm you as a player, and you lose at the end of the day. This is the big problem with unilateral strategies. Playing simple form tactics with a multiple variety of possible builds. Example, tank bruiser. Now a tank bruiser isn't a bruiser. He is a tank on the one side, and then he is capable of switching over to an assault weapon with minimal assault capabilities. He isn't going to apply massive damage. His entire purpose is to lock the enemy in place. That's all. He is requiring somebody else at a little bit of a range to apply 90% of that damage. He's a different type of tactic altogether. He is inefficient as a damage dealer. He is basically efficient as a tank, but he has no other effect. It's actually my gameplay strategy, and I'll show you what I mean by it. Let's go straight to attributes. Right. If you look at my character has a fair amount of strength, a fair amount of dexterity, and 318 in terms of constitution. Damage output is 752 on a standard attack and 829 on a standard attack on my secondary. This type of a player is highly inefficient for assault. Most assault players on this class, especially for a weapon such as this, will have between 1500 and 3000 as their base damage. So looking at what I have right here, if you were to deploy a spear user versus me in the game, a real spear user does almost 5 times what I can do. Almost 5 times, because it's closer to 4, but it's not exactly 4, so I'll say 5 times. Right? It's an over exaggeration of it, but he does that much more damage than me. And considering that we can triple strike, which turns this figure into a much smaller figure, overall that's just going to skyrocket them to higher and higher limits. They can put out more damage, they can force you into defensive mode a lot sooner, and that's just the basics behind this, right? You've got a simple reason to follow it, and there you go. This is one of those weird type of plays that you don't really see all that often, but they can be used for quite the range of objectivity. Okay, so the next thing on the light of strategic play is not going to be so easy to discuss, because it's most probably going to upset a ton of players, especially since it isn't very tactful of me to discuss this one. But here we go. The next thing is your deployment of weapons and your formations. Formations make such a big difference in war, and your formations cannot be unilateral. A unilateral formation once again pulls you into the rock, paper, scissors. Even with the range of weapons, you end up getting rock, paper, scissors out of all your transactions or all of your activities in game. It makes you a simple target. You become a simpleton overall when it comes to fight, and you know it's not the best way to end up. Sorry about that. Must get.
Greetings, young. Because she had Madelon believes the Dryads come
Okay.
from across Eternia to protect and
Alright,
care
so
for
I'm
nature.
sorry about that. It's something which was really irritating me. Every time I'm in the game, I'm always doing quests on the side, and it really messes up the way this is supposed to be done. But right, I'm ready to finish off this whole discussion. So you want to play a winning strategy. These are the simple things you have to do. I'm just gonna go inside this tavern, and I'm gonna go look at a war. Right. Number one, decide on your weapon setup. For players who want to be pro war players, a 6 weapon setup is going to be your best. That means you're capable of rock, paper, and scissors at any time. You just have to swap around and pull yourself into the right formation. It's going to give you what you want. If you're going to play something similar to me, obviously you're going tanky. You only have 3 real major weapons to consider, and here they are. You're gonna go sword, you're going to go spear, great axe, and warhammer. These are your 3 major considerations, and this is your primary. You've got a total of 4 weapon options for your variants. Rapier offers very little defense. It doesn't work out with your defensive capabilities. Warhammer has heavy defensive capabilities, so does great axe. Hatchet has massive DPS, so does rapier, but they aren't really the best for you to use in a close contact situation. All 3 of these have a lockout capability or a defensive knockback capability, which will give you a massive advantage. Sword and Shield has a complete defensive strategy that is an absolute wall to get through. There's nothing else you can do. Okay. Obviously there is the ranged options, but they require a switch in your strategy. It makes a massive difference to how you're going to play. You're going to have to invest in other tactics and strategies. Your bio will be similar to mine, where it's the 67 in one skill, 67 in another skill, and 300 in another skill to make up your overall construction, depending on where you're playing. But you have to remember that these types of things make a massive difference to your combat style, and you should be considering it for wars. So yeah, there's the first thing to consider. Now, when you have this simple strategy, you practice the following things for any type of rehearsal. 1. Block. 2. Strike. Strike light, block. Strike heavy, back into block. Right, there's it. You've got your basic strategy. You need to be able to efficiently do 1, 2, 3. Okay, I made the mistake there. Then you need to be able to do the following. Duck right while holding up your shield. Duck left. Oh, sorry. Duck left. And there you go. You now can do 1, 2, 3 ducks. If you're in this mode and you duck, you'll instantly duck backwards. That can pull you out of range of many close range assaults, especially with this up. As you can see, you just pull back slightly, your shield goes right back up, and they have to get right back into the shield. It takes out a lot from them because they have attacks that take several seconds to recharge. When they do this here, you can simply thrust them back for their assault, and you can simply knock them into a stun while you get right back into defensive mode, and there you go, you win that entire mini conflict. Same thing applies to the spear. You got your block. This here isn't very efficient. You're going to do this here. This here will tick them into damage, forcing them to think twice about heading into you. They head into you, you simply strike them again, push back into defense, knock them with that, come back, and a simple hard hit, push back, and you do that there. You're simply playing this here defensively. That's for the build that I'm using, and you work on it. You always work 1 quick assault, 1 long assault. Quick, long. and the defensive mode in between is very necessary. Then you have your two weapon tactics where you swap between the two. You play your strategies in swapping, how you're going to use them, what capabilities from each strategy are you going to deploy. Example, the shield bash followed by a quick javelin kick, or a render followed by the fortify ability, so that players try to impact into your heavily fortified tank. You push them off intentionally, and that's how it works. Simple tactics like that, they can get you a long way through. Something as simple as throwing out offensive messages in the middle of the war doesn't have to be extremely offensive. It's going to be something like, hey, look at the babies, they're here to fight us. Don't worry, when we kick their butts, they're going to cry to their mommies. Yeah, you can come at me, blah, blah, blah. This is my name. You can see me on the field. Anybody with the courage to take me, come try. Otherwise, your bunch of sissies can go stand at the war. Obviously, this is going to enrage players. When players see you, their emotions take over. You take advantage of psychological warfare. It's a simple thing. You make them break formation. It's very, very effective against people who play rock, paper, scissors. And remember, when I say rock, paper, scissors, that's a single formation line. Something as simple as a tank line. Let's say, for example, you decide 35 tanks, 10 healers, 5 DPS. That is a massively defensive tactic. Your DPS is way too slow to get you through the entire formation. Your tanks don't have enough healing coming into them, so they're going to go down very quickly. You can see the negative to it. Another strategy is 3 to a point, so that's 3 tanks to a point, that's 9 tanks, 1 healer to each of them, that's 3 healers, and 1 long range DPS to each of them. So someone using a hammer and a musket, or someone using a spear and a musket, whatever it is that they're going to match with their musket or bow for a long range. And you have the 3 applying a front range assault. You use this here to break generally bruises. You have a hybrid formation. It only accounts for 15 out of your 35 member army. The rest of your 35 can play any other strategy. You could actually have 2 rock, paper, scissors rolls inside there. This will change up how you play overall. You can have a bruiser assault plan to help you when you jump onto the field. So your defensive line can take it out onto the defensive line. The long range assault players can take out all healers in the back of your enemy players. And you win at the end of the day because you had such a massive counter to the regular strategies. By the end of that entire game, you have 10 healers because each team needs a healer. 10 healers. You had 15, sorry, not 15, you had 9 tanks. So 9 tanks to your total. And you had so many others playing different builds. You can have them bruisers, you can have them ranged, you can have them a mix of bruiser, ranged, and mage. It makes a big difference to your warfare. Somebody playing a pure bruiser build for the front line is going to walk all over mages, but over a bruiser versus bruiser front line, they're going to end up stuck in this long-term conflict, and then all of a sudden they're going to notice, hey, you know what? Point A, B, and C all have been taken. They're held by the enemy, and we don't have any healers on the field. Oh no, what's going on? We don't have healers. Their bruisers all of a sudden take a massive win. Where they had a 35 versus 35, they now reduced to a 10 versus 30, and obviously the 30 then overwhelms the 10. You get a 27 man victory with 15 men sitting on the field remaining on top of that. That means for the total loss of 8 players, they took out 50. That's because you played an efficient strategy against anybody playing the rock, paper, scissors formation. And as I said, you have more than one type of assault in that breakdown. Obviously, companies are going to try and play rock, paper, scissors like that, and they're going to end up with unilateral roles. Like I was saying, the amount of coordination required for 3 tanks is quite simple. Right, tanks, this is what you're going to do. We want y'all on a zone, face y'all's backs towards each other, so a 3-man back formation. A will be facing wall 1 if it was the tanks, B will face wall 2, and C will face the open tavern. With this here, you have 3 major openings on the side. When the bruisers come in, you all form a quick gated strategy. So say for example they come in on the open, here's the center side will come in and he'll hold on to the side with an angle, so he's open to some assault from range. Next thing, same thing will happen on the other side. This all opens up the enemy. The enemy sees openings that they can't really take advantage of. They will play against them, and then you will simply form up in a straight line. The bruisers will knock you down a little bit. Healer will throw down heals. Their damage is just going to ricochet off you guys like crazy. Instantly back into defense. Healer will throw on the second or third heal onto you guys. Your healing will start overtaking the amount of damage coming through your shields, and once again you win. They have to keep breaking you over and over again, which results in them losing their footing. If they lose their healers, they lose their ability to keep their footing because they're going to take massive damage on the front line. Potions sorry, potions are still open to you in war even if you have the strategy played, and it is as simple as 1 2 3 to win them. How much of time does it take to rehearse the strategy? Maybe about 5 minutes a day. If you're going to do anything, you can host a quick call. Everybody, right, get into a place, blah 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 blah, right, 1 2 3 1 2 3. There you go. You make them rehearse weapon 1. Go for your strike light, strike heavy, strike light, strike heavy. Remember to keep up your defense to irritate your opponents. That's the whole idea behind it. It will also save you a few seconds so that your healer can keep healing the army. At the end of the day, the entire enemy army is getting frustrated with you. You don't have to worry about the enemy's push anymore. You win. Do you see anything wrong with that as a player? Another thing to talk about is the lack of strategic play in the game. Now, I did have an entire video on the lack of strategic play, and I did insult a lot of companies on this here, and I'll show you the reason why strategic play is so important. Looking at this map, you can see that purple definitely dominates. There's 1 2 3 4 5 territories in their control. Green is absolutely pathetic. They hold 2. Yellow holds 4, right? So yellow and purple seem like they're on par with each other, and then green just lags behind. But here's the beauty to all of this insanity. If you're going to play like this here, you're going to lose. If you're going to lose wars this simply, you're not getting anywhere with your gaming. The whole idea behind playing warfare is total domination. We don't know whether or not you can totally dominate, and even if you're going to total dominate the map, dominate the entire map, and then after that there, think about deploying the following. You take over the map and you say we are the victors, and you release or relinquish your control to lower companies from your company range to take over certain areas. You tell them, right, we'll win this area, that area, that area for you. Now you need to defend it. That gives the other enemy territories a chance to fight and take down some of the held zones, and by the end of it you can see, maybe give it 2 or 3 weeks, the map is reset to a chaotic state like this here, where it's 5 4 2, and you're gonna say we hereby initiate assault again. Everybody get ready, here we come. You hit A B C D, you win 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 win, you lose whatever it is. That's the way that it is. You've done what you need to do. You have everything that you need in place. Bravo. Congratulations. You did what was needed and you have your game in place. You do this here every week. Eventually you're going to have 6 territory fights at a time. Your enemy can't keep up with it any more than you can. And at the end of the day, you show who has better strategy, who has better leadership, who has better players. And that is the whole idea behind a war game. Play strategy and skill over playing boring social politics. Social politics we can leave to the real world, where we have presidents and nations fighting each other, and in the game we can play proper war strategy and actually fight nice and efficiently. Now, I know there is a lot to take out and offload into the game, so catch you all in the next one and have a good day.